blue. Here's Anna Marcos with the breakdown.
The stern, serious young faces say it all. This new class of LAPD Police Academy recruits is primed, trained, and ready to head out into LA streets and protect the peace.
We will go out onto the streets with the understanding that today's world is ever-changing. And once we leave this sterile and controlled environment, we'll be faced with trials beyond our imagination. We chose this profession because we wanted to make a difference in our community.
I feel really happy for him, relieved.
The class of 2014 is fresh off 6 months and close to 1,000 hours of tough police training. 23 men and 6 women made it through. 23 of these officers will go into the LAPD ranks. 3 will be sworn into the airport police force, and 3 will ship out to the Port of Los Angeles. But just before it becomes official, the new cops receive some parting words of advice.
You will not get respect unless you give respect. And that's very important to never forget.
Law enforcement in the 21st century, although gratifying, is one of the most challenging and difficult occupations in the world today. I'm confident, though, that each of these young people can and will succeed.
And then they're recruits no longer, but full-fledged officers of the law. But for this day, at least, the day involves not keeping up with the criminals, but keeping up with Instagram and social media. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
The ethnic makeup of this graduating class of recruits includes 11 Caucasians, 13 Hispanics, and 4 African Americans. Well, Los Angeles honors the contributions of LGBT activists and their ongoing efforts for equality. Rasha Goel has more.
City leaders recently kicked off the 5th annual Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Heritage Month at City Hall, honoring pioneers in LA's LGBT movement.
These individuals were out, proud, and fighting for LGBT rights before it was acceptable in mainstream society. Because of their courage, they paved the way for the rest of us to live exactly as who we are today.
We have a lot of work to do to make sure that there is full equality and full justice for everyone.
Those being recognized were Alan Bell, publisher of BLK Magazine, Matt Redman, founder of AIDS Project Los Angeles, and Carolyn Weathers, publisher of Clothespin Fever Press, who have all seen the struggles of the LGBT community.
I encourage you, there's so much more to do, and you will do it. Don't think you don't make a difference.
There was also an unveiling of the LGBT Cultural Guide and Calendar produced by the city's Department of Cultural Affairs.
This month should be more than a month of remembering history. I hope that the Supreme Court will make this a month of making history. And for all of us, we have an opportunity to recognize that struggle we all have as Americans, get closer and closer to being who we say we are. A nation that will not judge you by where you've come from or whom you love.
I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
City Hall Tower was also illuminated in rainbow colors, similar to the gay pride flag. Well, it's a chance for Angelenos to learn a lesson from LA's own history book as a new Bunker Hill exhibit takes the stage at the LA Public Library. Anna Marcos has the story.
The Angels Flight Railway may not be working, but it's a piece of history that connects the Bunker Hill of yesteryear to the modern-day Bunker Hill. And now there is something else to connect the old and the new, an exhibit at the LA Public Library called Bunker Hill in the Rearview Mirror.
It just shows you where it all began, and it just shows you where you come from. It's exciting to see how LA and Bunker Hill was built.
Bunker Hill has an incredibly rich history, and I also work in the history and genealogy department. We get asked about it all the time.
The 33 images here include photos, drawings, diagrams, and news articles from Bunker Hill history, from its heyday in the 1880s, when doctors, lawyers, and bankers lived here in stately mansions, to the area's decline and redevelopment in the 60s and 70s.
The houses, the old architecture of the houses, that was all done by hand. Not like today where it's prefabricated and machine stamped and so forth. It's all done by hand, so I can appreciate that.
Bunker Hill has changed dramatically over the years. Gone are the old mansions to make way for LA's tallest skyscrapers. Here you'll find everything from the ultra-modern to the historic, such as the LA Public Library behind me.
The history of the downtown library is very interesting to me. I've just noticed for the first time all of the architecture and just the great history of the place.
For its organizers and visitors, the Bunker Hill story provides another piece in the mosaic that is LA's colorful history. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
The exhibit is free and open to the public at the downtown LA Library branch. Well, it's a valuable resource in LA's own backyard, and city leaders are hoping to give the LA River a huge boost. Rasha Goel has more on the second annual River Day. Rasha.
Yana, as part of the ongoing effort to raise awareness about the LA River, Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell recently celebrated annual LA River Day here at City Hall. And really, this event serves as a way to educate Angelenos about the resources that are available along the LA River. Dozens of exhibitors came out to this year's second annual LA River Day at City Hall, put on by Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell.
When it was channelized in the 1930s, it really did degrade the habitat, and it enabled development to go right up against the river, but it really also kind of killed the river at the same time. So River Day is a way to promote the fact that we are reinvesting and bringing it all back to life.
The $1 billion revitalization plan includes enhancing areas along the 51-mile-long river, transforming the channel into an upscale amenity for Los Angeles.
I'm working on enhanced increment financing, which would create a 45-year plan and a permanent revenue stream for all of the things that we want to do at the river. It would call for brownfield remediation, habitat restoration, infrastructure improvements, and it could also go toward low-income and moderate-income housing.
Green spaces, bike paths, and recreational activities are some of the improvements that have been seen along the LA River.
LA River revitalization is one of Mayor Garcetti's top priorities. He joined council members in the Valley to open 2 new segments of the river bike path.
The LA Conservation Corps launched the first paddle of the LA River more than 4 years ago. And so we're really happy that that has then turned into a river or paddle the river in the Elysian Valley, along with ours in the Sepulveda Basin, and a lot of other recreational and fun activities on the river. So it's really served to really get people's interest as well as recognize the conservation and environmental importance of the LA River.
According to Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell, 1/4 of LA's population lives in 1 mile of the LA River. So by improving the LA River also means helping improve people's lives. Yana?
Rasha, thanks. And Councilmember Tom LaBonge was also honored for his continuous support of the LA River. In fact, a portion of the LA River is now open to the public for weekend kayaking all summer long. As Gil Reyes shows us, you don't have to travel out of state or even out of the valley to enjoy this one-of-a-kind water sport.
No, we're not in Lake Tahoe, the Kern River, or even Castaic. We're near the heart of the San Fernando Valley, believe it or not, Lake Balboa. Not far from suburban homes lies this hidden oasis with chirping birds and native plants.
It's fun just to be out here in nature and see different things, you know? Like, you don't see this in LA all the time.
Didn't even realize it.
No, I didn't even realize that this was here. It's my first time actually being here, so it's pretty cool.
It is the only city-sponsored kayaking expedition in the San Fernando Valley. The 2015 Paddle the LA River program is off and running, and as you can see, we're off and running with guided tours that will take place Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays, practically every weekend till September 20th.
Are we going in?
You're going in the white one?
Area Council member Nuri Martinez helped kick off the program's 4th season. As former executive director of the group Pacoima Beautiful, she's helped maintain this 1.5-mile stretch of the LA River for public use.
So that communities like Sun Valley and Arleta and Pacoima, that these communities not only would appreciate the natural habitat along the wash, but also create more activity, physical activity for these communities.
First-time kayaker Anahi Godinez was worried at first. Is it what you expected?
No, I thought it was going to be, like, way harder, but it's not.
And then are you going to tell your friends?
Yes, of course I'm going to tell them. I'm going to go home and put it on Instagram and on Facebook, everywhere.
A summer of memories awaits. At the LA River, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The guided trip costs $50 for adults. You can purchase tickets online at paddlethelariver.org. And this week, we continue our look at how a new city initiative called CityLink LA will bridge the gap between those who have internet and those who don't. Checking email or doing a Google search on your smartphone or computer has become part of daily life for many Angelenos. And while access to high-speed internet may not be an issue, it is for many others in the community, creating what's called a digital divide. The term describes a connectivity gap among distinct, mostly low-income neighborhoods. Digital divide experts say this gap is caused by several factors.
Cost is one of the barriers. People who just don't have access to it because maybe there isn't an available offer in their particular neighborhood, or people who just aren't aware of it.
According to recent surveys, about 35% of Angelenos do not have high-speed internet. That's why they have to rely on community centers like the Magnolia Place to get connected. While community centers do offer internet access, computer use and center hours are limited. Other community members who do have a computer or smart device usually end up at libraries in search of free internet.
I go to a number of libraries around the area. Late at night, you go by, and sometimes you see libraries closed, but you see a family in their car connecting to the internet service that's at that library because they're offering, what's great, they're offering that free service. But those students are going to have, are having to travel all the way there just to get that connectivity.
But Councilmember Bob Blumenfield and LA Mayor Eric Garcetti want to make sure everyone is connected at home and at work through a new initiative called CityLink LA, which will provide high-speed internet and Wi-Fi to residents and businesses throughout all of LA. And for those who don't have computers, city leaders are working on that too through a program called Our Cycle LA, where old city computers are refurbished and then donated to those who need them.
Welcome to your new computer. This is the monitor.
I never had a computer in my life, and this is my first one.
We'll start with the horizontal line.
Computer training is also part of the program where instructors guide users through the basics. Another step towards getting everyone in LA up to speed with access to vital information.
Critical content that really is going to improve their educational and economic outcomes.
City leaders hope to break ground next year. Now, what does the LAPD and the LA Dodgers have in common? Well, they're both pictured on some new baseball cards. That's the focus of This Week in Tweets.
I'm Charlie Beck, Chief of Police in the City of Los Angeles. We're bringing back one of the LAPD's most popular relationship-building tools, and that's the baseball cards.
So much about it, love it. I wish you let me be, but a destiny's got us intertwined.
In the 80s and 90s, LAPD officers gave out Dodger baseball cards to kids in our community.
So we attached that positivity to law enforcement, police officers, and it motivated me, inspired me to want to be that person.
The Los Angeles Police Department released a video on Twitter promoting its latest effort to strengthen community ties. The LAPD and the Los Angeles Dodgers have come together to create special edition LAPD Dodger baseball cards, bringing back a tradition the LAPD began more than 30 years ago. Back then, the police department and the Dodgers launched a baseball card program to create a connection between community and law enforcement. And now, thanks to a contribution from the LA Police Foundation, the program is back. Chief Charlie Beck tweeted, #BaseballCardsAreBack. Check out the great LAPD video announcing our community partnership with the Dodgers. And the cards are already putting smiles on plenty of kids' faces. Enzo A. tweeted a pic of a girl holding an LAPD Dodger baseball card. He tweeted, "Great neighborhood event in Highland Park today, LAPD softball game." He also tweeted a pic of the kids smiling and showing off their new baseball cards. He posted, "Baseball cards for the team." And LAPD 77th Street tweeted an adorable pic of a boy holding up 2 baseball cards. The post read, "Another happy customer." The cards feature a Dodger player and a member of either the LAPD or the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. And that's a look at This Week in Tweets. Well, a charter school is honored again for their academic excellence. The city attorney's office promotes gun safety, and some low-income families celebrate a new place they can call home. All these stories and more in City Beat. Councilmember Mitch Englander recently unveiled an official City of Los Angeles street sign honoring the Granada Hills Charter High School's academic decathlon team, which won its 4th national title in 5 years. The 2015 sign was placed underneath the 2011, 2012, and 2013 dedications. Englander said the sign will serve as a permanent display of achievement and success to the entire community and future students, that by working together, studying, and persevering, kids can get a great education in Los Angeles and reach their dreams. Granada Hills Charter remains the only charter school in the almost 35-year history of the National Academic Decathlon Competition to claim the national title, and the only public school, traditional or charter, to capture the national title 3 years in a row, and now 4 times in 5 years.
Tommy was 5 when he killed his 2-year-old sister
with a single shot fired from a small rifle he received for his birthday.
Los Angeles City Attorney Mike Feuer called for a renewed nationwide commitment to end gun violence during the first ever National Gun Violence Prevention Day by unveiling a public service announcement urging the safe storage of firearms. This 30-second television spot highlights tragic instances of guns killing children and asks the public to lock up your guns.
Lock up your guns.
Feuer also announced that his office filed misdemeanor charges against 10 people for alleged gun crimes. The gun charges were filed over the past month and vary from unlawful possession to concealment of weapons. At the news conference, Feuer was joined by representatives of Women Against Gun Violence, which produced the PSA, and the Violence Prevention Coalition. The next Ciclavia, which opens roads to bicyclists, pedestrians, and other non-car traffic, will be held in Culver City and Venice this summer. The 6-mile route will encourage people to walk or bike between Culver City and the beaches of Venice, by way of Palms, Mar Vista, and other beachside neighborhoods. Officials said participants will be able to explore diverse neighborhoods, discover new businesses, and even take a dip in the Pacific. The festival is scheduled for August 9th from 9 to 4 p.m. Community members recently celebrated the grand opening of a new apartment complex for low-income families in Boyle Heights. The 53-unit complex replaces a blighted property that once housed a bar and nightclub. The energy-efficient apartment building will also offer services to residents, such as classes in English, parenting, nutrition, health, and finances. More than 2,000 community members applied for apartments.
I'm thankful and I'm grateful, that they did this, because it's helpful for other people, like especially us that we don't make that much. And I'm grateful that they thought about us.
The residents said that they wanted to see something positive here, like housing and retail space, and we were able to make that vision a reality.
Officials say they are planning more housing projects that will include the opportunity for home ownership. Never-before-seen photos of Marilyn Monroe now on display. Some animated Disney classics come back to life, and Hello Kitty pulls out all the stops for fans. All this in this week's Things to Do. Here's your chance to see Marilyn Monroe like you've never seen her before. This year marks the 53rd anniversary of Monroe's passing, and the Hollywood Museum is currently hosting an exhibit that runs June 3rd until September 22nd. Highlighting the exhibit will be works by guest author and photographer George Barris, best known for his work with Marilyn and the last photographer to have a session with her before her death. He will exhibit never-before-seen pictures of the Hollywood starlet. On display will be items from Monroe's childhood, film costumes, public appearance gowns, personal clothing, jewelry, furniture, makeup, medication found on the nightstand the night of her death, memorabilia, and more. The Hollywood Museum is located at 1660 North Highland Avenue in Hollywood. For more information, visit thehollywoodmuseum.com. Experience the joy of film with live orchestral music as the Los Angeles Chamber Orchestra screens animated shorts from Walt Disney Animation Studios, some which haven't been seen in more than 50 years. Conducted by 6-time Emmy Award-winning conductor and composer Mark Waters, the orchestra performs live music with cartoons from the Walt Disney Vault and more. Projecting on the silver screen, 2 previously lost and newly restored Oswald the Lucky Rabbit shorts, Poor Papa and Africa Before Dark. Also premiering are orchestral scores written by Mark Waters. Celebrating its 80th anniversary, Silly Symphony Musicland will be screened for the first time with a live orchestra. Don't miss these timeless classics. The screenings take place on Saturday, June 13th at 7 p.m. at the Theater Ace Hotel, located at 929 South Broadway. For more details, visit laco.org/venue. Hello Kitty is hitting the road with her first ever live entertainment show and North American tour. On June 12th through the 14th, the Fabulous Forum in Inglewood will play host to all things Hello Kitty with a super cute friendship festival. The event will feature live entertainment, cosplay, characters, interactive exhibits, and more. Join the fun, friendship, and festivities with multi-stage live performances, interactive entertainment, fashion, photo opportunities, and lots of special Sanrio surprises. The Fabulous Forum is located at 3900 Manchester Boulevard in Inglewood. For more information and to buy tickets, visit sanrio.com. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kay. And from all of us here at LA This Week, thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org, and you can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Bulky item pickup? Call 311, the toll-free number for non-emergency services. 311, your one call to City Hall.
Caring about our air just got a little easier with the South Coast AQMD's new and improved app for the smartphone. Now, at my fingertips, I can check the air quality before I go out and enjoy this great Southern California outdoors. Find alternative fueling stations for my car and learn more about clean air activities in my community. So what are you waiting for? Get connected. To download this app, just look for SCAQMD in your app store. South Coast AQMD, cleaning the air that we breathe.
Hi, I'm Kevin from Chatsworth, offering you a taste of New Orleans since 1986. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
Good morning. Shh. Good morning. Today is Wednesday, June 10th. I'd like to welcome you to your Los Angeles City Council chambers. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. The public is welcome. Mr. Clerk, I do believe we have a quorum. Could you please call the roll?
Blumenfield, Bona, Buscaino, Cedillo, Engler, Fuentes, Huizar, Koretz, Krikorian, Labange, Martinez, O'Farrell, Parks, Price, Wesson. 11 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you. First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Ms. Martinez moves, Price seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Fuentes moves, Labange seconds. That brings us where?
Mr. President, that brings us to items 1 through 9. They're items noticed for public hearing. We do have cards on items 1, 2, 8, and 9.
Okay, let's hold those items. And can we prepare to vote on the remaining items? Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Thank you. Alan, let's move on to the next section. Items, I think, 10 through 29.
Yes, sir. There are items for which public hearings have been held. Committee reports for items 19, 26, and 29 have been circulated.
Okay, let's hold items 17 and 18. And 27 special. Members,
26, not 27, I apologize.
Okay, so we don't want 27. We want 26 held special. Any other specials? Mr. Labange?
Mr. President, I don't know procedurally. It's a reconsideration of item 5. I have just a small amendment to that from yesterday's.
We'll come back.
Thank you.
Okay, so now let's vote on the remaining items. Mr. Huizar?
I'd like to call special 10, 11, 14, and 16.
Okay, we'll get those items for Mr. Huizar. Now let us vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
Ayes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Englander. I can't hear you, sir.
Item 15 forthwith, please.
15 forthwith per Mr. Englander. Can we move on, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir. That brings us to items 30 through 43. They're items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are now before this body. Do we have cards?
Yes, sir. We have cards thus far on items 36, 37, 38, and 41.
Okay, let's hold those items, Mr. Koretz.
I'd like to ask that 39 and 40 be called special.
Add those to the list as well. On the remaining, let's prepare to vote.
And, pardon me, sir.
Go right ahead.
For item 42, there's a request to receive and file this item inasmuch as the requested fund transfer will be handled administratively.
So without objection, that'll be the order? Okay, so let's vote on what remains. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That brings us where?
Mr. President, that takes council back to presentations or items called special.
Mr. Labange, you had a request earlier.
Item number 5, it's a small matter. The motion's being circulated. This is reconsideration yesterday. It's just a requirement in the work of the Department of Transportation and their engineers that they, on the preferential parking district, consider the historic commercial district that is in Beechwood Canyon, so they try to balance it out and don't have a negative impact on the businesses. So that is the key.
Okay, so why don't we vote on reconsideration?
Got it. Has it been circulated?
And then we'll wait until the motion.
Mr. President, it hasn't been circulated. Let me circulate it.
Okay, well, I'll vote on reconsideration
Got it.
now. And then we'll have it on, we'll hold it. Okay, so this vote, item 5, reconsideration. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
And Mr. Clerk or Mr. Labange, please let me know when that has been circulated.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Weezer, why don't I defer to you? Let's do items 10 and 11.
Thank you, Mr. President. And items 10 and 11 concern appointments to our Central Los Angeles Planning Commission and our Citywide Planning Commission. Number 10, it's Ms. Christina O is being recommended to the Central Los Angeles Area Planning Commission. She has experience working here in council as a former staffer in Council District 13 and the office of our mayor. She now works for Disney, and her extensive public and private sector experience is going to lend well to this appointment. Also, number 11 is an appointment of Ms. Samantha Millman to the Los Angeles City Planning Commission. She previously served as a president of the Central Area Planning Commission since 2013. She has familiarity and a long range of planning experience and development issues. So we want to thank them both for their service. And you're here, if you could stand up. And I don't know if there's any questions, but we certainly highly recommend these mayoral recommendations to the Central Area Planning Commission and the Citywide Planning Commission. Thank you for your service.
Okay, let's, Mr. Clerk or Madam, Mr. Clerk, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we'll take up item 2 right now. Mr. Hunt, item 2. Sergeants, if you would clear the way to the podium. Come forward, Mr. Hunt. Come on, Mr. Hunt.
Thank you. This is regarding the hearing of a protest of an ordinance. First consideration. Most of the ordinances in LA are 99.9% unconstitutional. So a reconsideration on this would be a no vote, because the city of Los Angeles has failed in writing ordinances. So no on this.
Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item. Members, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Item 8, Mr. Previn.
Thank you, Council President Wesson. It's Eric Previn, a city resident from District 2. And this is item 8, which has to do with Proposition K, which for viewers and members of the public don't know is a 1996 ballot initiative that provided $25 million a year for about 19 years, if I got it correct, to create opportunities in our communities. Many of you have participated, at least in the receiving of some of that funding for our local parks. And it came to my attention because during the election, somebody referenced that we found some money and we were going to get an upgrade to our local Studio City Recreation Park, which is S12 in this nice package. And in fact, $3 million had been earmarked, backed by voters. And there's an issue that comes up, which is very interesting, which is the will of the voters, what they wanted, which was that. And now, for example, us, 15 or 20 years later, the recipients of that and whether or not it's in need. And it comes up, Mr. Bond, and I know you're an environmentalist at heart, because some of the things require a great water need, where back then we were not thinking about the terrible drought. We were thinking about awesome ways to enhance our local parks. Now we have a different set of problems. And the area where I'm sort of agitating and interested in is, could you take money that's designed or earmarked, for example, to redo another version of an upgrade to a facility, as opposed to, for example, putting up synthetic fields like some of the other groups have adjusted and found a way to do. There are two little oversight groups that help with this. One's called the Regional VNOC or whatever, and the other is a more local version. I have been unsuccessful so far at identifying my little committee members so that I could raise this to the appropriate group. But I do think that it's worth talking about because, for example, the Studio City Recreation Park, that's only $3 million, has been arranged. It seems like it costs substantially more, and I can't quite figure out where that money is found or has not been found. But I do know that in our community we know very little about it. So I was hoping we could...
Thank you very much. Okay, let's prepare. Mr. Labange.
Thank Prop K and all the work that it's done. And if anyone wants to get involved, the Recreation and Parks Commission is very active with their community groups. So just go to the Park Commission and be involved, or work with your council office. It does happen. And we thank those who put Prop K together many years ago. Mike Hernandez was a champion there.
Thank you. Let's vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Item 36, Mr. Walsh. John Walsh.
Forthwith, please.
Forthwith on 8.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or at J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. Here's my, again, when you do a good job here, and you are doing an excellent job on REAP, most cities in California, if there are violations, too bad. The landlord doesn't do a damn thing about it. There's nothing you can do. Here, and I want to point out, this is North Sechelle Street, North San Fernando Road. If there are violations in your rental unit, you send a letter to your landlord. If he doesn't repair them, then you go right to the city, and from then on, the rent doesn't go to the landlord, it goes to the city until the violations are repaired. Jackie Goldberg was involved in this. You are doing an excellent job.
Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Mr. Walsh, don't go too far. We're doing item 41, held by you as well, item 41. Mr. Bonin.
We move item 29 forthwith.
Without objection, that'll be the order, item 29.
You're welcome.
At HollywoodHighlands.org. Let me tell you, this is in code, this number 41. This is a $55 million going to 6305 Yucca. What is that? That's AMDA building, AMDA. That's for all the rich kids who come here, mostly females, to break into show business. Now, why are you giving them AMDA the money? You're giving AMDA this money because they withdrew from our lawsuit when we were our billion-dollar successful lawsuit to stop the Twin Towers in downtown Hollywood. They pulled back, they gave us no more money, and now you're sneaking through something. Remember, if you cooperate with these people, they will shower you with money. And remember, you're not nearly as corrupt as New York, where I come. Where I come from in New York, it's much more corrupt. 100%, HollywoodHighlands.org.
Okay, let's prepare to vote. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
We'll do 37. Mr. Previn and Mr. Walsh, item 37, please come forward.
Thank you, Council President Wesson. It is Eric Previn, a city resident from District 2, and I'd like to thank Mr. Blumenfield on this one. If I understand it correctly, it seems to be a record retention policy review, just to sort of make sure that we are doing what makes sense, which I think is important. I think it's a discussion that does unfortunately involve holding on to a bit more than we probably would want in the spirit of Wesson-like efficiency. So I think we have to probably tippy-toe up to that, because releasing these records, and I was doing a little excavation myself into the Xerox Solutions space. This is a group that administers our citation program. And I had asked for some of the emails and correspondence, and sadly, in connection with our city policy, they had been destroyed, those records. Now, of course, those were hot and exciting records that had been reviewed by Wendy Gruhl a little bit, so I'm sure everyone was happy to get rid of those records. We are in a new phase now where, fortunately, fortunately for Mr. Englander, I should say, the scope of work for Xerox has been substantially upgraded and increased, and they are, though they've had a rough year in the citation processing, we were down from about 165 to 157 million in harvesting fines and citations from the public. We look forward to a robust uptick, unfortunately, coming very soon. So with regard to the record retention, sir, I do admire what you're doing here, and I do think that digitally, obviously, as I know you're the tech guy, we do want to try to hold on to these things, because the cost to save records is quite small. And of course, the reason we save them is because once some of the characters have moved on because they've gone to the state legislature or to the Senate, we do sometimes have to review those records. There's a very relevant case in New York right now on that point. And thank you for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, HollywoodHighlands.org. Records retention is the opposite of evidence destruction. You're living in 1947, buried in paper. When I asked for the records of the Ethics Commission, they came up with 25 boxes. I'm saying that now in America, you can hold 20 to 30 years of record in the palm of my hand. You're not going to do that. You're continuing to do it on paper, and you're continuing to destroy the evidence. At the MTA, where they were created by the state, they must hold the records for much longer. But here, where you have your own records, you just salivate in destroying records so that we can't find out your criminality. Go digital. Stop jerking off digitally and go digitally. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Okay, let's prepare to vote on that item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Thank you. We'll now move to items 17 and 18. Okay, we're on items 17 and 18. This is a measure that we've had 9 months of conversation on and countless public testimony. We don't need to take public comment at this time, so let's vote on these items. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. So that passes. Are we ready on the item 5? Mr. Clerk, has that been circulated?
Yes, sir. Amending motion 5A has been circulated, sir.
Okay, so let's vote on that item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Thank you. We'll go now to item 9, Mr. Previn. Item 9, and Mr. Walsh on item 9. Mr. Bonnet.
17th and 18th forthwith so we can get them promptly to the mayor for signature.
Okay, 17th and 18th forthwith.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I'm looking for Mr. Previn and Mr. Walsh on item 9.
I'm running as fast as I can. Number 9, this concerns the streets. This concerns essentially tourism. You know, you killed a tourist, was shot to death on the boardwalk from Italy. Turns out she was rich. Her father owned a big soccer team there, so she got paid off. But I just want to say to everybody out there, this is a dangerous city. We dodged a bullet yesterday.
No, stay on the subject.
The subject is the tourists have to dodge bullets in this city. And the press here, they don't care. Come to L.A. and dodge bullets. Come to L.A. and see people on
No,
the
stay on the
freeway.
subject, Mr. Walsh.
Is why tourism and why this tourist, there should be no tourists except crazy tourists coming to this city.
Mr. Previn, is Eric? I do not see Mr. Previn. Let us prepare to vote on item 9. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. We'll go to item 40. Mr. Herman and Mr. Spindler. Item 40. Item 40. Start his clock.
Considering resolution by Mr. Caress, Mr. Speaker, and Mr. Weezer here for governance of Jerry Brown to execute the order of a bill responding to a drought that the city of Los Angeles was so much in denial. And now the Punisher comes in here to awaken all of you under the disguise as myself, Robin Hood,
Stay on the
to
subject.
uphold what council has subjected the concurrence of the mayor. Bad news for the 2015-2016 state legislative program to support the governor, Mr. Brown, to execute B-2915, which will help Angelenos, for one, hopefully, property taxes to be reduced. 2, help in Los Angeles with the California to endure the historic drought conditions, which would be half the cost of what DWP charges us for water nowadays.
Stay on the subject.
Now, Mr. Speaker, politically correct, I'm speaking about Governor Jerry Brown to provide us conditions responding to the drought. Now, if I'm off topic and not in order,
Stay on the subject.
to address consideration of this motion, which is 15002 S37, I'm specifically taking it out of the agenda in concern to Mr. Koretz, Mr. Weezer, who's built density apartments that absorb
Stay on the subject. Thank you, Mr. Herman. Now, your time has expired. Mr. Spindler. Mr. Spindler, he's disrupting the meeting, sergeants. Mr. Spindler.
Yes, we have the the senile octogenarian government, Jerry Brown, telling us that we can't use water unless we pay much, much more for that water. You can use water as long as you pay for more of it and get less of it. That's the credo of the California Democratic Party and Governor Jerry Brown's executive fascist order B-2915, which basically says if you're not a rich Jew with a big pool,
No, you're not on
you
the
cannot
subject. You're not on the subject. You are not on the subject.
About the cost of water, and that's why I'm on the topic, sir. Please do not interrupt me.
No, why don't you stay on the topic?
Brown's. All right, let's play it your way.
Consideration of the resolution relative to establishing the city's position regarding Governor Jerry Brown's executive order because B-2915 is there's a drought. Oh, boy, there's a drought, and we're going to resolve to take away people's water. We're not going to allow you to fill up your swimming pool or take a shower. Yay! Los Angeles and California will endure the drought by making sure everybody stinks like shit. Yay! Because we can't use it. And also, the committees of the city council waived consideration of the matter because they don't give a goddamn about anybody. Yay! Anarchy! So now we're going to be little children. We're going to sit in our little seats and vote for Jerry Brown. Give Jerry Brown a 5th term because he should get more than 4 terms because
Stay on the subject. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Koretz, followed by Mr. Huizar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Governor Brown showed up and addressed us at the Metropolitan Water District Board yesterday, and it was partly to thank us for putting in $450 million for turf removal and water-saving devices, but it was also to talk longer term about the drought. And he first talked about climate change and the fact that he has a goal to reduce fossil fuel usage by 50% within the next 15 years. And the connection to the drought is that this may be a permanent condition caused by climate change, that water in the Sierras will no longer be able to stay in the mountains as snowpack, and it may greatly reduce our ability to access water as a result. So we are looking at taking permanent steps to save water. And that is a lot of what we're doing with reducing turf and doing other conservation measures. So I ask you to support his executive directive. I think this is a critical step in the water future of California and Los Angeles.
Mr. Huizar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to thank Mr. Koretz for the work he's doing on behalf of the city. Well, actually, it's not necessarily on behalf of the city. He was appointed by our mayor there and on the MWD board, and he is literally carrying our water there on a variety of issues. And he has taken the drought situation very seriously and has been a leader in moving us forward to a better place. Among the changes we are having to make in the city is to address the water use on landscaping. That is about half of our water use. And in Eagle Rock City Hall, in my district, we replaced turf with native plants and are actively promoting the turf rebate that is available through DWP. And I want to say thank you to Mr. Koretz, because I know that when MWD was debating turf rebates a couple of weeks ago, he got them to increase the rebates to $450 million instead of reducing rebates as some had proposed. And that funding is critical to our ability to conserve water. And so I just wanted to acknowledge the good work that Mr. Koretz is doing at MWD, and thanks for representing the city's point of view and also for your continuing efforts to challenge all of us to conserve more water. Thank you, Mr. Koretz, for your work there.
Mr. Labange.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. Huizar, very nice remarks about our man, Mr. Koretz. And last night after you at the MWD was with the governor, I was with him down at USC with our fine president of the university, and the fine publisher of the Los Angeles Times. We had a conversation on water that said it's the most important thing if we look to the future. And I'm looking to the young man who's reading his little cell phone right there, right next to you. He's got to worry about water because in the future, it's all about the community. All of you in this city have to know that water is limited, and big processes that we had in the past, such as the aqueduct, are not going to be possible in the future. But I look to our Bureau of Sanitation and the great work that they're doing with reclaimed water and reuses, and I know the work that Mitchell Farrell's doing on the river and others. That is a wise thing we got to look at, Mr. Cedillo, as you very much know, to reuse it and recycle it. But I wanted to stand up for the governor, and also he made a great explanation about how important it is to look for high-speed rail in the future and work out the issues. Just like water, work out the issues. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank Governor Brown for his great work, and the publisher at the Times, Mr. Buettner, for that great conversation there at USC last night.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Members, let's prepare to vote. Mr. Clerk, open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Mr. Cedillo.
Presentation.
Mr. Cedillo, go right ahead.
My presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
I do want to explain to some of the guests that I see here today that we've already voted and approved the minimum wage. So I just want you to, I wanted to make sure you understand that. That is already on its way to the mayor's office. Mr. Cedillo.
Good morning. What a great opportunity to talk about trash. Can I get everybody from the Bureau that's here today? How are you? Mr. President, thank you for the time this morning. As you know, we are constantly referring to Los Angeles as a global city, but we also have global challenges, and one of them, most evident, what we see every morning, is the fact that we're in a constant battle to remove trash from the streets, bulky items, a whole range of garbage and trash illegally dumped on our streets and alleys on a daily basis. And in that war, there's no greater battalion than the Department of, or the Bureau of Sanitation. So I want to talk to you today, this morning, for a brief second about our Clean Streets Initiative and tell you what we're doing. This has been a priority of our office since we first came in, and we began with a pilot project called Keep It Clean. And what we did was that we moved resources to the Bureau so that they could have the infrastructure and the personnel to implement a plan. And that's very critical as we think about the many challenges that confront the city, that unless we dedicate resources, unless we have personnel, unless we have a plan for all our great ideas, nothing's going to happen. And we immediately found that we were able to clean up 286 alleys and lift 2 tons of trash on our pilot. That became the foundation for what Mayor Garcetti called the Clean Streets Initiative, and his Executive Order 8, modeled after our Keep It Clean campaign. And on target are 70,000 streets in the city of Los Angeles. And we are going to rate those streets, we're going to give them a grade, and then we're going to go after them and make sure that they're clean. I want to thank my colleagues who have supported this effort. I want to thank the Bureau and their team, Director Enriquez Aldevar, Mayor Garcetti, yes, Russell Zamora, Leo Martinez, Pepe Garcia, and the entire team that's here today. Let me give you some stats of what we've done. In 2013, we collected 831 tons of trash. And it was a very high level because we had lacked the focus before. We had lacked the metrics to measure what we were doing. Last year, we collected 1,718 tons of trash. And this year, we're on track with 500 tons of trash with a more focused approach, a more detailed approach, one that emulates the crime stat approach that the LAPD takes. We call it SandStat. And we are on track to continue our cleanups. We've hosted 36 cleanups in our district. That's 2 every month. We've made contact with over 7,500 residents. We've sent letters informing them of what we're doing. We've created partnerships with the LA Conservation Corps, and we've also made a partnership with our library, and we use that as an opportunity to bring young people in to talk to them about the importance of this. We cannot claim to be a global city, and we cannot take our place amongst the great cities of the world unless we make sure that our public space is clean and adequate for all tourists and all residents of the city. With that, I'd like to welcome the Bureau and thank them. I have a resolution. Where is it?
Just to the right of the podium.
Thank you, sir.
Boss? Yeah, I just walked in.
Thank you for joining us, Mr.
I just was waiting for the moment.
Mr. Zaldivar was in the back making sure that we cleaned the entryways. Let me take this opportunity on behalf of the city, on behalf of our district, on behalf of the mayor, and on behalf of the entire council to thank the Bureau of Sanitation for all the great ideas and thoughts we have. None of it gets done without your leadership and without the hard work, the grit of your department. They make sure that we keep it clean, and they make sure that our initiatives of Clean Streets is a success that it needs to be and that it will be. So I want to thank you on behalf of the mayor, on behalf of the city, and on behalf of the city council. Congratulations, and let's keep it clean.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Weezer has some remarks, Mr. Cedillo, before we call on the great director of the Bureau of Sanitation. Mr. Weezer.
Thank you, and thank you very much for this, Mr. Cedillo. I wanted just to echo Mr. Cedillo's words about the great work. You made it. You just got here, Enrique. I looked up and you weren't here earlier. It's good. I just wanted to thank the department for the Bureau for the wonderful work you do. In 2012, when we started Operation Healthy Streets in Skid Row, and then we upped the amount of funding this past year to do more cleanings, it's just looking at it firsthand and the incredible work you do there, but not only there, but throughout the city. It's tough work. It's a lot of work, but you guys just do an incredible job. You're very responsive to the community, work well with other agencies. In Operation Healthy Streets, we're bringing the county to provide social services to the people on the street, coordinating with the Bureau of Sanitation, the Traffic Division, LAPD to make this possible. Bureau of Sanitation is at the forefront, challenging all of us to do better. And so I just want to thank you for the work you're doing there and throughout the city. Incredible work and much more work to do. Thank you.
Thank you, and may I say, Mr. Cedillo, thank you for your leadership. I had a special treat today. I was at a red light, and I looked at it. There's a big truck with about 19 bulky items at a apartment house. And I looked at the truck, and it was number 29, and I almost cried. I just want to thank you, Enrique, and your team. It was a very special truck. Underneath that city seal was a nice little old name. God bless the Bureau of Sanitation, who affects the health and public health of all Angelinos every day of the week in Los Angeles. God bless you, Mr. Cedillo, for the great job putting this off there.
What was so special about that truck and what you saw on that door?
I got my name on the truck. You know, some people get names on parks. I got my name not just on a trash truck for bulky items, but I got one on a sewer truck. And the sad thing is, this is for us older guys, when I made my speech, I talked about Ed Norton. Ed Norton was a sewer guy in The Honeymooners with Jackie Gleason. And not too many people knew about Norton. But anyway, God bless the Bureau of Sanitation, both the sewer side and the bulky item side. Thank you, every one of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If I may.
Yes, please.
Thank you, council members. Thank you, Councilmember Cedillo. It's going to be 2 years ago next month that you challenged us to rise up and to step up in ways that we had not done before. And as much as trash is our business, we literally have to transform ourselves to be able to answer the challenge. So the group behind me is the Clean Streets Initiative folks who have adapted to this new service. It is solid waste service, but believe it or not, we were new to it. So thank you for trusting in us. Thank you for supporting us. And you can keep on giving us more. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Cedillo.
Yes.
Let's go to the back and take pictures.
As we have the Bureau of Sanitation move back to the press room, item number 1 will be called.
Item 1 called Special for Cards.
Wayne Spindler. Mr. Spindler. Mr. Walsh. Mr. Walsh, you have 1 minute.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or at J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. This concerns the street lighting districts. Perhaps the Glen Oaks Boulevard people are happy with their street lighting district. There's another street lighting district on this agenda where people are not happy. Why you have to pay for street lighting, a surcharge, I don't know. Other cities, you don't have to pay. Here you have to pay or else it's dark and you get mugged and raped. And I'm just talking about the guys. HollywoodHighlands.org. Some of the street lighting is good, but paying for it through the nose is bad. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Mr. Herman. Mr. Herman? Mr. Herman passes. All right, Mr. I don't have a card for you, Michael. Did you fill a card out? Excuse me, I don't have a card for you, sir. You turned it with a different name, GoDaddy? Please correct it in the future. Thank you. 1 minute. Go ahead.
What do you mean? You could cards are to be directed in any name. It doesn't matter what the order of the name is. If it's GoDaddy, please respect that. Okay, I want to talk about the lighting and the tax people paying for it. Why should they be admonished for something that they already pay for? This is the size of it right here, that if they pay property taxes, then they shouldn't have to pay for lighting as well. Anybody that's paid property taxes shouldn't be charged for a surcharge for street lights. And that's just a crock of BS. This ordinance is bogus, just like the rest of them. 99.9% of the ordinance is bogus, especially when the tax people got to pay for them. Michael Hahn.
That completes the public comment on that. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Next item, item number 14. Is that correct, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir. Item 14 called Special for Councilmember Huizar.
And Mr. Huizar is away from the desk, so I'll hold it on the... Here we go, right there. Thank you very much. Ms. Sanchez, nice to see you.
Thank you, Mr. President. This item went through our Planning, Land Use, and Management Committee. We have a technical amendment, and the amendment would read, recommendation number 5, Exhibit C, Zone Change Ordinance, and we could refer that back to Plum, please.
So ordered.
Thank you very much for your second, Mr. President.
So, Mr. President, for clarification, this will be as amended to refer recommendation number 5 back to the Planning and Land Use Management Committee.
Very good.
Yes.
All right, let's open the roll on that. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
13 ayes. Next item.
That brings us to item 16, called special for Councilmember Weezer.
Mr. Weezer.
Forthwith, number 14, please.
Forthwith on 14, ordered by the great councilman of the 14th.
Thank you. And item number 16, just wanted to bring to our attention and to Eagle Rock's attention about this very important change we're doing to the Colorado Boulevard specific plan. This plan was adopted in 1992 and did not allow any businesses to open before 7 or close past 9. We have since revitalized the corridor, and a number of new businesses are moving in, and we are at a competitive disadvantage with other commercial districts being able to have their businesses open and close earlier or later. And this fix will have a lasting impact in that it will allow for more sit-down meals, shopping areas to sell groceries and provide other activities. So just want to bring that to the attention of Eagle Rock, but I wanted to particularly thank the planning staff and the city attorney for moving quickly with this, and I ask for your aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good work on Colorado Boulevard, making the village of Eagle Rock again. I met a guy going to jury duty from Eagle Rock. He likes your work. I saw him on Temple Street today. No other comments. Let's open the roll. Yes. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
13 ayes.
Mr. President, super forthwith on that, please.
Super forthwith, with urgency. Next item.
Mr. President.
All right, we have to take on vote, says our city attorney. Mr. City Attorney, we thank you for your advice. Can we vote on that, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir. We'd have to vote on that matter.
Hey, Ken. A roll call vote? Roll call vote.
Open the roll. Close the roll.
13 ayes.
13 ayes. Forthwith. Super. Next item.
Item 26, called special for Councilmember Blumenfield.
Mr. Blumenfield from the 3rd District.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I called this item special, and I'm going to bring some folks to the table for this item in a minute because this is a big deal, colleagues. This item, I believe, is going to be transformative for the city of Los Angeles. We're talking about an item, that has the potential to bring in $4 to $6 billion worth of investment into the city of Los Angeles, something that will help bridge the widening gap between the haves and the have-nots that has been plaguing our city and our country. This item is something that can help address that, particularly the digital divide. This is an item that is going to create opportunity for many Angelenos and is going to be transformative, and I wanted to call it special. What it is, it's CityLink LA. It's an RFP. It's a request for participants. Well, it normally doesn't seem like a big deal to bring forward a request for proposal or request for participants. This one is. It's an ambitious ask, unlike the city has done, to my knowledge, ever. It is something that is not just done, without a lot of thought. I brought this initiative back almost 2 years ago when I was first elected. One of my highest priorities for the city of Los Angeles is to see that we move into the 21st century, that we become the most connected city in the nation, and that is a way that we can thrive. So we brought forward, all of you unanimously signed on to a motion almost 2 years ago to develop this RFP. And over the course of these years, we've done quite a bit, and I want to give a lot of commendations to ITA, to all of the folks, CAO, who have helped make this happen over that time. It's not just been about
going in a vacuum and researching it. We did an RFI, which is a request for information, where we asked for vendors to come forward and give us their information. We've put together stakeholder groups, business groups, and over the course of these years have developed an RFP that is different than any other city has tried. Other cities have tried to put municipal broadband together with various degrees of success. Some have ended up spending a lot of money and then been left with a lot of legacy hardware. This is a unique way to take on broadband throughout this city because it's asking for a partnership with the private sector, whereby the private sector would come in and invest, and in exchange we would provide certain public assets. And for those public assets, we expect certain things in return. What do we expect in return? We expect connectivity for every home and business in Los Angeles. Gigabyte or more service to every home or business in Los Angeles. That is a super speed that will make us competitive. We have lost a lot of business in this city because people have left this city because we don't have that kind of digital infrastructure. Just as our physical infrastructure is important for quality of life and movement of goods and business, our digital infrastructure is equally important to make us competitive in the future. And our digital divide is unconscionable where we have it now. Over 30% of Angelenos don't have access to broadband internet. That means students aren't able to keep competitive and do their homework. That means folks who want to apply for a job don't have that kind of access. This proposal will help bridge that digital divide because it requires an element of free. It requires free wireless access at basic speeds throughout this city, as well as targeted wired discounted service. So this will be a game changer for this city. And I really wanted folks to understand what this proposal is about. So I'd like to call to the table, as was noticed, some experts. We have the CAO, Mr. Ceja, if you could come up, ITA, Mr. Ross, if you could come up, and then we have two members of our stakeholders group. We could have Mr. Ken Phillips come up from the Valley Economic Alliance, and Norma Fernandez from Everyone On, who will talk about the digital divide, and I'd like to give each of them an opportunity to talk about what is in this proposal and how it is going to change the city of Los Angeles. And we'll start with the CAO, Mr. Ceja.
Good morning, council members. Ben Ceja with the City Administrative Officer. Really what I'm here to talk about today are some of the actions that are being requested by you today with respect to this item. Specifically, we're asking that you authorize the Information Technology Agency to release the request for participation by June 23rd. I think that's the target date of release to allow for this project to go forward. Additionally, we're asking that ITA be designated as the lead manager of the RFP process and the CAO to be designated as the lead negotiator for an eventual award of contract or multiple contracts, because as Mr. Ross will explain, what we're asking for is not just one proposal to come forward, but we're asking for multiple proposals to come forward from multiple participants, and that we believe will provide us with the best opportunity to make sure that the entire city is covered by this very important project for internet connectivity across the city. There are some modifications we've asked from the standard provisions that we normally set forth in RFPs. That's within the report. And what we're saying is that we will be back to council with the actual potential awards before any contracts are finalized. So we will be back to the council for that final approval. With that, and there's also, as you may have recalled, $1 million set forth in the unappropriated balance for this project, specifically tied to a permitting group that would be established in city departments as a way of expediting the process that would take for these vendors to come in and actually do the groundwork that's needed to connect the city. And that again would also have to come back to council for appropriation, for final appropriation, and as well as potential budget requests that would be made for the 16-17 fiscal year and beyond for the same permitting group and for their items that may be required. With that, I'm going to let Mr. Ross go into more of the specifics of the actual program, if that's okay now.
Thank you, Mr. Saya. Mr. Ross.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben. As championed by our council member Blumenfield, fellow council members, and our mayor, Eric Garcetti, CityLink LA is a city-led initiative to bring both ultra-high-speed internet as well as free basic internet to residents and businesses in Los Angeles. Unlike a typical city request for proposal, as the council member was mentioning, where we publish our needs and we pay a vendor for services, this is a request for participants, where we itemize our goals, we list our incentives, and we solicit from a large universe of potential proposals. Through the request for information that was performed last year, we heard feedback from vendors and the community, and including the following direct city support to this initiative: to establish a digital infrastructure permitting group. It would be comprised of staff of up to 11 city departments. The permitting group would serve as a single point of contact and an expediter of permitting for these large technology infrastructure projects. We also identified city property assets. For the selected proposers, the city has identified more than 100 properties where fiber hubs or central offices can be placed. I must also mention these are not just city properties, but properties being offered by the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, Metro, as well as HACLA, et cetera, and the Department of Water and Power. Lease of existing DWP fiber at a bulk rate. Also includes lease access to the city's storm water drainage system for fiber installation, which, as many know, is particularly important when you're trying to build a fiber broadband network across things like freeways. Access to city streetlights at favorable bulk rates for the placement of Wi-Fi devices. As was mentioned by Ben, successful completion or conclusion of a process like this requires a designated negotiator, and so our working group is proposing the CAO to act in that role. I would like to thank the Department of Water and Power, who on May 5th, the Board of Water and Power Commissioners considered and approved a resolution to support CityLink LA. I also would like to thank, as I mentioned before, the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, Metro, who on April 16th, their Executive Management Committee authorized participation in CityLink LA. Has since then identified additional properties and lease fiber opportunities for the proposers. I'd like to thank HACLA, Housing Authority for City of Los Angeles, and many other community and industry organizations that are supporting this very important initiative.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Ross. And we, as I mentioned, we have two members of our stakeholder group that have been part of this process that so many have, and maybe we'll start with Mr. Phillips from the Valley Economic Alliance.
Thank you, Councilman. And wanted to start and say the Valley Economic Alliance is very supportive on this initiative. I brought with me our consultant that helps on many of these big data projects, supporting this Link LA program as well. I call him also my big brain as well too, and that's Keith McPherson. The big data project that we were looking for initially that supports this is taking a look at the entire city of Los Angeles, more specifically the businesses by each of the city council offices. We went ahead and framed them to better understanding the types of businesses in each city council offices. The other thing that we wanted to know was what was the percentage of home-based businesses. So we end up starting with Bob Blumenfield, Council District 3, and we found that there's 28,641. These are businesses that are registered with the City of Los Angeles Department of Finance. This is the exact number. The other thing that we had learned and surprised was the fact that more than 50% of those were home-based businesses. And when we were starting to interview many of these home-based businesses, what we found was that when they were trying to conduct businesses, they were looking for meeting space. Sure, there's open table when you're looking for a restaurant when you want to dine with your family, but there isn't anything at all for the home-based businesses that want to go ahead and conduct one-on-one meetings other than Starbucks, where you're always competing for a place to go ahead and sit. But what happens when you want a larger place? And more specifically, does that restaurant or does that place of business have Wi-Fi service? Does it? Many times it doesn't. Additionally, the speed of the Wi-Fi is essential too, because when you're trying to conduct any type of business, it's important to go ahead and show what those graphics are and making sure that they have the particular type of service to where you can show your presentation, demonstrate your presentation on a larger screen instead of just your smart device. When we were visiting with the restaurants on the boulevard from the West Hills and CD3 all the way to CD5 to Studio City, we found that there was 454 restaurants, non-franchisees restaurants, and in particular, what we wanted to know about them, did they have Wi-Fi, and if their point-of-sale Wi-Fi was completely separate and secure from their customer Wi-Fi. Many times we found out either they didn't have Wi-Fi or they didn't have a separate Wi-Fi. What we're working right now is a total of 70 of those restaurants with Time Warner Cable to making sure that we could have a separation of the point of sale and the Wi-Fi, not only to secure, but also to go ahead and speed up the ability for customers as well, too. The applications that are currently out there, and many of us know about this when you're trying to book a restaurant, they're good. But there's many other things associated on the business side which is uniquely different. And so my colleague Keith is developing a new application that will do just that. It will go ahead and take a look at all of the available meeting spaces, how much do they particularly have associated with seating and what their availability is. So similar to like an open table, now it's open meeting as well too. So that's one of the things. But would you rather go to a business that supports the community? That will be another area that we focus in on as well too. Do they support the Chamber of Commerce? And more specifically, do they give back to the community? And do they also support many of the city initiatives associated with increased wages and those types of things too? Do they offer incentives for their employees, including benefits as well too? We wholeheartedly support Link LA. It's an important initiative for Los Angeles. It's an important initiative for business. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fernandez.
Good morning. Thank you, Councilmember Bloomingfield. My name is Norma Fernandez, and I am with Everyone On. We are a national nonprofit that's focused on eliminating the digital divide, and we're extremely excited to be here. As you may all know, according to the U.S. Census, about 25% of the U.S. population or households are offline. And specifically in California, and more specifically in Los Angeles, about 30% of households are unconnected. That is huge, and that is very unacceptable. The number one reason is cost. We all know it's extremely expensive when we get package deals through our cable companies as well as our wireless companies. And cost should never be a reason why Angelenos don't have access to opportunities and as a result excel. And this is why, as I mentioned, we are extremely excited to be a part of this project and more excited that CityLink LA is a true public-private partnership that will ensure it's eliminating the digital divide. And so the project is about innovation, it's about increasing competitiveness, it's about economic development, but really at the core, it's about access. Access to an LAUSD student who goes home and needs to access the internet but needs to go to McDonald's instead and spend a few hours there to access her homework online. Access for the elderly and physically disabled that need to schedule their medical appointments or even, speak with their medical folks, need to have that access as well. And it's also about access for the unemployed, for folks who are looking for jobs online that need to do their research but also apply. And we know that 80% of jobs are now found online. So you can imagine how this project is going to make a huge impact for all residents. And it's also about access for businesses, as we heard. Businesses need to have fast infrastructure, fast service, that they in turn could increase and improve their operations. So with that, I just want to thank the team, in particular Councilmember Bloomingfield, for really leading this initiative, along with the Mayor's Office and Council President Wesson. And I would be remiss if I didn't say how amazing it is that in addition to outlining all the physical and infrastructure assets that exist in the city in the RFP, that we're also listing the community organizations that could really be leveraged to spread the word about getting online. So thank you for that.
Mr. President, unless my colleagues have questions or comments, I'll close. But
go right ahead and close.
Okay. Thank you all for your testimony, and I want to also make sure. I thank the city attorney as well as the mayor, as well as all of the departments that have really taken the challenge here, because ITA leading the effort has reached out to DWP, every agency to get them on board. They've done resolutions. DWP did a resolution. MTA is on board. We've talked a lot about, colleagues, we've talked a lot about the aspirations of this, but the other piece I want to mention is what's so unique about this is we're not putting in a ton of city money. We're monetizing assets that the city has that are being underutilized. We're taking DWP fiber that's not being utilized. We're taking our street posts. We're taking all of these assets. We're bringing to the table, you know, $1 billion worth of assets when you add it all up. And we're leveraging that to create a $4 to $6 billion investment in our communities, in our future, to make us the 21st century city that we can be, that we need to be, that we deserve to be, and that we will be with this proposal. And with that, I ask for your aye vote.
Mr. Labange.
Quick, Mr. Blumenfield, great job there. I just wanted to, I came from a county board meeting today, and just make sure that we reach out to the other government levels there. So we're kind of like it's the interchange, like the 4-level. City, county, state, federal, because the internet highway is really a highway, but once connected, it flows. But Mr. Blumenfield, I heard you open remarks. You say you want to get us into the 21st century, and I wanted to say before it's over, because it's already 2015. You've been a champion of this. Thank you very much. Thank you, ITA. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, let's, in fact, good work, Mr. Blumenfield. Okay, members, let's prepare to vote. Mr. Clerk, open up the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, that is approved. We're going to now move to item 39. On item 39, I need Juana Kala.
Regional water management program. I have a few suggestions. You know, back east, they get flooded every year, every damn year. Why not build a channel, a flood control channel that will bring the water to the southwest, all the way from back east? They spend billions of dollars in damages. Why don't they spend them on a canal to bring water to the areas where we have no water? Isn't that a magnificent idea? And it will cost billions, but we will avoid billions in damage to those poor states that get flooded every year. Every damn year, ever since I can remember. When I first came to LA, it struck me that there was way too much water on the other side of the United States and way too little water on this side of the United States. Why hasn't some brilliant politician built a project that will bring a lot of water over here? Are we stupid or are you stupid? I think the politicians are the stupid ones, but somehow they rule over the smart ones. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Obama?
Stay on the subject.
Yeah, the subject is water, and we need better management. Obviously, you don't know what the hell to do. And you're telling us we're in a drought for the last 7 years. Excuse me, there's so much damn water around the world that you could figure some way to get water over here. Right, Labange? Right? Do you have enough water for your cocktails?
Thank you. Okay, if I could have Mr. Spindler and Mr. Herman.
Yes, the water. Agua. We're thirsty. We need a water management program. Well, as part of a water management program, the first thing you have to do is put people in charge of it. You guys are disqualified. You can't be in charge of that because you don't know anything. And then these Sacramento Democrat idiots like Mr. Lara, again, are using race and stupid things like disadvantaged communities. I mean, water has no race. Water has no economic status. It's there. And it's lots and lots and lots of it, but the farmers have it all. And the water rights holders have 80% of it locked up and tied up in ownership rights and claims and riparian rights. So you can't get the water because these poor disadvantaged communities have to declare eminent domain to get it. That means you have to buy it from the people who own it, and they own 80% of it. So what you're doing is that you're using 20% of 100% of the water for 99% of the people to use. That is fucking stupid. And that's what this is. Fucking stupid. And these people in Sacramento are fucking stupid. 80% of the water is owned by water rights. So if you want it, you can get it. You're going to have to go and take it by eminent domain and pay the people for it. And I think a fair price for the water should be $4.35 a gallon. And the first check you can write is to me.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Herman, followed by Mr. Hunt.
It's a real damn shame that we come up with such inconclusive evidence regarding such an idea of lunacy here, Mr. Weezer.
Stay on the subject.
Well,
That
the
has
subject
nothing
of
to
matter
do with the
pertains
subject.
to item 39 with Mr. Weezer, Mr. Speaker. And I don't wish to be addressed.
Stay on the subject. That's all. I'm not going to debate you. No, stay on. If you read it, then you'll know what the subject matter is.
Management program. It's really effed up that the Punisher comes in here to remind you, why are you punishing the public? Why are you taking advantage of those, the public, all of them
Speak
that want
into the mic.
an interest in how to regulate water? Yeah, damn dumb, huh? I can't use offensive language. I can't say anything in my own direction because you're going to correct me, you little Hitler. I hold my time to 1 minute.
Mr. Hunt.
Good morning again. I want to talk about a little bit about water and cost, and the cost of water. I think the cost of water for taxpayers, as long as they pay property taxes, water should be free. I think that the ordinance and the cities trying to get involved in water should be null and void. And I think that all of our city council people should be listening and to the people that talk about water. Because water, we use water in the toilets here, we use water in the fountains, and we shouldn't have a cost about that. It should be totally free. And I'm intrigued. I love blue, so that's the end of my comment. I just love blue.
Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, in 2002, the Integrated Regional Water Management Planning Act was enacted to create plans for better cooperation among public agencies and nonprofits on water-related issues like water supply reliability, water quality improvements, natural resource protection, and other issues, with a special focus on the water-related needs of disadvantaged communities. Unfortunately, the administration of the plans that came out of this have created challenges and delays in payment. So they're hurting the very disadvantaged communities and nonprofits that they were designed to protect. We shouldn't allow the state bureaucracy to get in the way of these efforts. And Senator Ricardo Lara has introduced SB 2008 to fix this situation, and I ask that we strongly support it.
Thank you. Members, let's prepare to vote. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Mr. Clerk, item 38.
That's item 38, called special for cards.
Wayne Spindler. Item 38, sir.
Yes, we have to go into Nuri mode because Nuri's chairing the committee meeting. And we're going to build a sewer pipe. Sewer pipes to take the waste out of the houses and down to the Hyperion water plant. 3782 West Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. MLK had a dream. He had a dream to have a sewer named after him on his own boulevard. The Martin Luther King Jr. Sewer Construction Project. The property owner to pay the street damage restoration fee. No, Nuri, no, don't make the property owner pay more. Waive the fees to the property owner, Nuri. He's already paying too much. He's going to go bankrupt, Nuri. Nuri, no. Don't let the property owner pay more, Nuri.
Thank you so much, Mr. Spindler. Michael Hunt?
A little respect for the blue folks. Woo, we love the blue right here. What are we talking about? Public comment or our special
Sir,
item?
you are not on public comment. You filled out a card for item 38. That's the item you're going to speak on.
Oh, yeah. We need a sewer for Martin Luther King Boulevard. I'm all for that one. A little respect for the blue, though, okay? Martin Luther King Boulevard needs a sewer. I'm for that ordinance. Go ahead and pass it. I need a yay vote on this. All yeses. Thank you. Tabulate the votes.
Mr. Herman, item 38.
Here we go into Nuri mode. I was in the valley, and I noticed that there was a newly resurfaced street to allow construction for sanitary sewer pipes and construction connecting to the property located at West Martin Luther King. Now, Nuri, is this the same as MTA Thrift Store on Van Nuys Boulevard? Or is it MLK for Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard? Again, all the crap that comes out of our streets is due to bad plumbing. 80 years of infrastructure failure caused by the Nuri people in the valley that didn't replace the corroded, broken pipes like we had up there with that oil leak. Shame on you, shame on you, shame on you, Nuri. That green dress was spectacular in Van Nuys, but again, the subject of matter is about rotten sewer pipes, where all that cagada comes out and goes from one end to another into the sewer. So again, please, Nuri, clean up your act, fix the sidewalks and streets.
He is not talking about this
I'm
item.
talking about sewers, sir. In order to fix a pipe, you have to remove a street and a sidewalk to get to the damn sewer, Dion. Do you know about engineering? Are you an architect?
Mr. Herman, you're going to speak to the item or your time is over. Sir, you're not interacting with the city attorney. You're speaking on item 38. Thank you, Mr. Herman. Thank you. Well, then you need to speak to the item, sir.
Correct. Correct me if I'm wrong. Politically, I'm speaking that,
On
again,
38.
sanitary sewer pipes should always have priority infrastructure correction at any time and any moment. It's a readily achievable access to fix, repair, any altered pipes and sewers.
Thank you very much. Mr. Juan Alcala, you're next. Item 38.
I wish to speak in a little voice, but I'm a real man. Yeah, the sewage thing. In my opinion, you should not bother the homeowners with fixing up the street. That belongs to the city. And if you need money, get it from the federal government. After all, they are the ones that print all the damn money. And all that money is really funny money because there is absolutely not enough gold to cover all the damn dollars that are getting printed every day and every night, 24/7, etc. They can print as much money as they want. And they can keep printing it to fix every damn city in the United States and every damn government in the world. If the dollar is the standard around the world, why not print enough dollars to take care of everything and stop bothering the people?
He is not talking about this item.
Okay, well, I'm talking about fixing everything up, including your damn sewer. City Hall smells like a sewer because you're so damn corrupt. When I first came to this city, I lost my 2 vans that I used to sleep in to the city. Corrupt sewage system. You are a sewage system. And it's not very good. It's a very old sewage system. It really stinks. The Ninja Turtles wouldn't even dare to go down there, believe me.
Thank you very much. That concludes cards for this item, Mr. Clerk. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Item passes. Thank you. We're going to move on to public comment. First speaker, Michael Hunt. Public comment.
All right, you guys. Wait, can you reset my time? I'm going to endorse the lady in the blue to be the president of the council, something that hasn't been done in a long time. So I'm endorsing you to be the president of the whole council right now. I love Herb Weston, but he's getting ready to retire. Also, I want to talk about Venice Beach and my job and actually going on your trial, a $100 ticket costing the city $120,000. That is nonsense. If you guys don't get behind me and support me, it's going to end up costing the city another $2 million because you lose ample alternative. And if you arrest me and say I can't work on the boardwalk, you lose ample alternative. And they lost to that like maybe 10 times already. So with my endorsements to you, Mark for Don't Become that jackass too. Court costs $120,000 for a $100 ticket, and you are the president. You are the president.
Next speaker, Mr. John Walsh. Mr. Walsh, are you still here?
John Walsh, HollywoodHighlands.org. We're being covered today by Scott Johnson of Mayor Sam. He's the reporter here. Go to his website, Mayor Sam. He's the father of all the political blogs. Okay, yesterday the city dodged a bullet. If you were down here at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, there were helicopters all over. There were cops hiding in the street. There were officers on horses. They were waiting for the police commission's verdict. If the verdict had been whitewashing those 2 cops, this whole city would have exploded. Everybody knows that. But fortunately, the mayor put pressure on the police commission. They rejected their own IG, and they did a split decision. One cop was a racist murderer. The other cop wasn't. Notice the cop that got hit was the Hispanic cop, and the cop that got off was white.
Next speaker, Eric Previn. Eric Previn, are you still here? He's not here. Next speaker, Juan Alcala.
I'm running for mayor. I want you to support me, Nuri. Please. Please. Believe me, I'll do everything you say. Wait a minute. No, you have to do everything I say because I'm going to be the mayor. Did you guys know that I have more votes than any of you? Because I know more people around the city than any of you? But do you know that you know how to cheat so that you will get elected and not me? You know how to cheat. And you've done it for ages. No wonder it's the same damn people going from one office to another. Same damn people for the last 100 years. Father Juniper Rosera would have kicked your asses if he was still around. In fact, I would have kicked Father Juniper Rosera's ass all the way back to Spain. We don't need those assholes here.
Next speaker, Tia Coons. Tia Coons is not here. Kathy Deep.
Good morning. My name's Kathy Deppie. I'm with 9 to 5 Los Angeles, part of the National Association of Working Women, and I'm here to address the need for a city paid sick days policy. This council already knows why we need paid sick leave. You've already supported it in your living wage ordinances, but I want to remind you that all workers deserve to earn and use paid sick leave, not just some. Both private and public workers need this basic labor standard. Women in particular form the majority of underpaid workers who care for others. They need to be included and cared for in your policy. Under the flawed state paid sick days bill, over 400,000 of these caregivers were excluded. We can do better than that in LA. We can forge a policy of inclusion because all workers deserve paid sick leave. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Martha Sanchez.
Sorry. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Marta Sanchez with ACE. Thank you for supporting the minimum wage. I would like to invite you to consider two things before voting for the paid sick leave. One, there is health concerns that require to take medicine that impairs people's ability to work, to operate machines, and to make and that medicine make people sick or sleepy. Number two, it is always better to send one person to home instead of sending 2 or 3 people because they contact you. It is better to send one worker to home instead of send that worker to workers' compensation. And let me tell you why. One day my husband went to work feeling sick because there were other employees sick as well, and he was not allowed to be at home. So he went to work, and because he was really sick, he got injured. He broke his leg, his foot, and regardless, the boss asked him to come back next day, and because of that, he got bigger injured. So
thank you, ma'am.
Please consider the cost of not giving enough time for workers to recover.
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is over. Thank you. Rosemary Molina.
Hi, good morning. My name is Rosemary Molina. I am the Strategic Director of the Clean Car Wash Campaign. We represent over 10,000 car wash workers in Los Angeles, the majority living in South LA. I want to thank you for passing a comprehensive policy that's going to lift Angelenos out of poverty. This is very important to our members, and you're making a difference in their lives. Moving forward, I hope that we can work together to ensure that the enforcement component of this policy is very successful. And I want to encourage you to incorporate the strongest possible tools and mechanisms to enforce the city's new wage and hour law. And that would include adequate funding for community partnerships and enforcement measures such as liens. There's still a lot of work to do, including making sure that paid sick leave and anti-discrimination language is part of this policy so that we can continue to protect the basic rights of workers. Thank you again for the hard work that you've done.
Thank you. Next speaker, Mike Peisner.
Hello, my name's Michael Preisner. I'm a restaurant worker here in downtown Los Angeles, and I'm also a former corporal in the United States Army. I'm one of the around 2.5 million U.S. service members who served in the Iraq or Afghanistan war. And I'm one of the several hundreds of thousands young veterans who came home from that war with a combat-related disability. I want to speak today very quickly about the need for paid sick leave in Los Angeles. Many of these veterans, in fact, the majority of veterans are coming home to the state of California from where they joined the military from. With the types of combat-related disabilities that so many of us have, you can't make a decision when you wake up in the morning. Sometimes you need treatment that day for that particular thing. Working in the job I do, working maybe 4 shifts a week, if I take 1 day off, that means I lose 1/4 of my income for the entire week. And so my community very much is in need of some type of protection for paid sick leave. And the reasons that brought me into the military were because we are taught from day one that we stand for human rights, for human dignity and respect in this country. And I think that it's
Sir, your
a front
time is up. Thank you very much. The next speaker is Rosemary Jenkins.
I'm Rosemary Jenkins. I want to thank the mayor and the entire city council, except for the consistent no voter, for the support for the raising the wage and for enforcement. I'm here to talk about earned paid sick leave. We know that if people are forced to go to work or stay at work, they can contaminate other people. This is a health and safety issue. They need to be able to go home, take care of themselves, take care of a family member without fear of any kind of retaliation, such as having hours reduced or even losing their job. So we want to make sure the state has done 3 days, and we would like the 5 days earned paid sick leave. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Michelle Thrower.
Thank you. Boy, this is quite a circus we got going on here today. Anyway, I'll be quick. Thank you for hearing me. I need help. My company needs permits from DOT. I'm told it's a year out before I can even get in front of the board to get a permit even approved. You need a permit for each vehicle. I take some 7,000 people around town every month, free of charge, and we just we just go around downtown. I've got contracts with Carmel, 700 apartment homes rolling out in September. Our traffic, our parking is horrific, as a lot of downtowns are. And it's just going to get worse with all these homes opening up and rolling out in the next year. My service gets people to point A to point B. It's free to the person in the vehicle. And I'm not asking for a penny from the city. I mean, we've put this all together ourselves. We've been doing this for a little over a year. The city asks a company to prove and go get contracts and do all that ahead of time. Usually you get, you do it the opposite way.
Ma'am, your time is up.
I need your help to get in front of DOT, please.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next speaker, Excel Pareder. Excel Pareder.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Axel Paredes y pertenezco a la coalición Chirla.
Good morning, my name is Axel Paredes and I'm a member of Chirla.
Muchas gracias, señores concejales, por el buen trabajo que han hecho al enforzar la ley del salario mínimo y lo que concierne a la prevención del robo de salario.
Thank you very much, council members, for passing an ordinance that will increase the minimum wage as well as enforce wage theft.
Con su buen trabajo, ustedes están protegiendo a la clase más desprotegida.
With your great work, you are protecting those who are most vulnerable.
Están protegiendo a nuestros hijos, a nuestras familias y a nuestros padres, especialmente por lo que es la salud.
You are protecting our families, our children, and our parents.
Están protegiendo a la gente que trabaja como jornaleros, trabajadoras de casa, limpieza y lavaplatos, las personas más importantes de la ciudad de Los Ángeles.
Let me see if I can get all of those. You're protecting our jornaleros, our home care workers, our dishwashers, and our restaurant workers, and those who are most important to our city.
Muchas gracias por su buen trabajo, que Dios los bendiga.
Thank you very much for all of your work. May God bless you.
Y sí se pudo.
Gracias. Next speaker, Alan Carrisford.
Thank you. I want to encourage the City Council to support fair and clear guidelines for short-term rentals known as home sharing. I hope you consider that the vast majority of hosts are people like me who work on the premises, live on the premises, and control the situation. Renting my guest unit short-term helped me get back on my feet when I was in dire financial trouble. It's helped my long-term tenant too, who is rent-controlled, because I've avoided raising her rent even though I'm entitled to by law. She can't afford it, and I would lose her. When a guest leaves and I'm cleaning, I find these every time. They're the little tags from new clothing. Guests save money by staying with me, so they go shopping. They buy groceries at my little market, the cafe on the corner. They get 5 T-shirts for $10, and the money that they bring stays here in L.A. I get a lot of families because my guest house has its own kitchen. Guests have told me that if they stayed in a hotel, they wouldn't have been able to afford the trip. My profit margin is very slim. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, Sophia Chang. Is she here? Sophia Chang. Next speaker, Maria Ortiz. Maria Ortiz. ¿Necesita intérprete? Sí. Un momentito.
Lo puedo hacer simultáneamente.
Buenos días, señores
Good morning,
concejales.
Council members.
Mi nombre es María
My name is
Ortiz.
Maria Ortiz.
Somos janitors
We're janitors
que limpian sus edificios en
that clean
Los
your
Ángeles.
buildings in LA.
Damos gracias por su apoyo,
We thank you for
por
your
llegar al
support
salario de los $15.
because you give us a salary of $15.
Miles de trabajadores
Thousands of workers.
seremos beneficiados.
We're going to benefit.
Can you hold on for just a second? Can we let her finish so that you could then interpret and then speak into the mic? Thank you very much. Puede seguir, señora, puede seguir.
Sigue también.
Y sí se pudo.
And we can
Y
do it.
juntos subiremos América. Gracias.
And we're going to raise America together. Thank you.
Next speaker is Rosemary Martinez.
Good morning, council members. My name is Rosemary Martinez, and I'm a home care worker and member of United Long-Term Care Workers. I want to thank you for making this historical day a reality. Your votes today will lift thousands of families out of poverty and give them an opportunity to fulfill their American dream. I'm a single mother, and today I'm hopeful that I can provide a better life to my daughter. Instead of working 2 jobs, I can now work 1 and finally get to spend more time with her. Our children are the future of tomorrow. Raising the minimum wage will make us the leader in prosperity and an example to other cities that we can raise wages and still boost our economy. Thank you again for lifting Angelenos out of poverty and making LA the best city in the world. Thank you again.
Sí se puede. The next speaker is Sherry Bell. Are you Sherry Bell?
I am. That's Sophia Chang behind me.
Okay.
Okay.
But
good morning. My name is Sherry Bell with the LA Black Workers Center, and just want to say thank you to Council for taking a monumental step towards improving the lives of LA's workers. We also support City Council's efforts in creating an enforcement division that will include anti-discrimination provisions to address the hiring practices that prevent workers from collecting their wages. We're looking forward to working together to create a strong enforcement division with credible funding and partnerships with community organizations who are connected with workers. We want to ensure that LA's work sites look like all the people who live in our city and all workers are getting the wages that they deserve. So thank you very much for taking this step.
Thank you. The next speaker is Alex Wyman.
Good morning. My name is Alexandra Wayman. I'm a resident of District 2, and I am with Unite Here Local 11. In less than a month, thousands of Los Angeles hotel workers will be getting a raise to $15 an hour, pumping millions of dollars back into the local economy. As a recent graduate of Cal State Northridge, who knows about student debt and the huge prevalence of low-wage job opportunities, this is great for our community, small businesses in the city. We are proud and excited that hundreds of thousands of Angelinos across all industries will be getting a raise through this policy. Thank you so much for your support on the biggest issue of our time.
Thank you. Next speaker, Cayetano Juarez.
Mi nombre es Cayetano Juárez y soy miembro de Rock LA y cocinero por 15 años.
My name is Cayetano Juarez. I'm a member of Rock LA, and I've been a cook for 15 years.
Yo he estado trabajando 3 días enfermo, tosiendo y narices goteando.
I was working 3 days sick where I was coughing and I also had a runny nose.
Le dije a la subchef que no me sentía bien y que estaba vomitando y tosiendo en la comida.
I told the sous chef that I didn't feel well and that I was vomiting and I was also coughing into the food.
Y me dijo que me fuera a descansar y que mañana no hablara enfermo y si hablara enfermo iba a perder mi trabajo.
The sous chef told me to leave, to go home, and to not call back the next day to say I was sick, because if I called the next day and said I was sick, that I could lose my job.
Y pasaron 3 días más de enfermedad
But I was still sick for 3 more days.
Y al tercer día que regresé al trabajo, me entregaron mi cheque y me despidieron.
After those 3 days, I came back to work when I wasn't sick anymore, and they just gave me my final check and fired me.
Esta es una realidad lo que pasa en los restaurantes cuando pides días de que estás enfermo, te empiezan a cortar horas o te despiden.
This is the reality of what happens in the restaurant industry. If you call out sick, you can lose your hours of work or you can even get fired.
Sí, por eso es importante que pasen estos días de enfermedad, ¿no?
So for this reason, it's really important that we have sufficient paid sick days.
Thank you. Next speaker, Jorge Cabrera.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to address you today. My name is Jorge Cabrera, and I represent the Southern California Coalition for Occupational Safety and Health. Today, I come and speak on behalf of the workers who need a better paid sick day policy. Currently, the policy that gives workers is not adequate and is not uniform. And from the occupational safety and health standpoint, we find out that when you have paid sick day, you're safer at work. And that makes a lot of sense for the workers, especially those who work in the hazardous conditions like construction, people who work with chemicals, people who work around other dangerous industries. We need those paid sick days to keep our workers safe. So I urge you to do that and make sure that all workers across all industries have paid sick days. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker, Ruth Dawson.
Good morning, council members. My name is Ruth Dawson. I'm an attorney at the ACLU of Southern California, where my work focuses on reproductive justice and gender equity. I want to heartily thank the Council for its historic move to raise the minimum wage and create the Wage Enforcement Division. I also want to highlight again the importance of paid sick days to LA workers, as others have done. As you've heard today, California passed a law last year giving 3 paid sick days to workers across the state. While this is a good start, it is certainly not enough. Both San Francisco and Oakland have passed ordinances with 5 to 9 paid sick days, depending on the size of the business, and we believe that Los Angeles should follow suit. Many of LA's low-income workers are parents or family caregivers, and we believe that paid sick days uphold both the reproductive justice and gender equity of LA's workers. Reproductive justice means being able to both work and take care of yourself or family members who need it, and it means not having to choose between tending to the needs of a sick child, for example, and losing your job. I urge the Council to pass a strong paid sick days policy.
Thank you. Next speaker, Maneva Curry.
Hi, my name is Maneva Curry. I'm an ACE member, and we would like to thank you for supporting the $15 minimum wage. And as we celebrate this historic moment, there's still a lot of work to be done. First of all, paid sick days, key to protect public health. My daughter this year caught strep throat 3 times. Because she had to return to work for not having sick time. After returning to work after the first time, all the bartenders were out due to strep throat. So it's really a public issue. The second unfinished business is tips. I'm a single mom of 3. I raised my children on tips while obtaining my master's degree. The tips are an incentive. They were an incentive for me to give great service. These great services brought regular customers to that business. That business bottom line increased due to my great service. And thank you.
Thank you.
I just like to say that if we all work together, the business will thrive, the city will thrive, and we'll all be happy.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker, Scott Johnson. Mr. Johnson, are you here?
Good afternoon. My name is Scott Johnson. I am the primary blogger at Mayor Sam, but more important, I am a constituent of City 14. I am here today to ask Councilman Huizar for an opportunity of character. Our neighborhood council, which I was a member of, Bel Air 32, passed a motion during its last term to ask for a national historic status to honor the thousands of students who joined with South Castro in honor of education equality. How we get honor is that USC gets priority in cutting down native trees at Hazard Park. When are you going to put a stop to it? You knew this issue was a priority when you first were elected to your first full term, and 8 years later, we are seeing those trees in danger again. As my Native American friends would say, this is bad juju. You're just opening up yourself for a can of worms.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Sophia Chang. This is the second time I called Sophia Chang. Is she here?
Okay, thank you. Good morning, my name is Sophia Cheng. I'm with Rock LA. It's a nonprofit organization for restaurant workers, and we're really excited by all of the wage policy that has passed. It's going to make a huge difference in people's lives. I'm going to talk a little bit about paid sick days because 90%, 9 out of 10 restaurant workers in LA do not have paid sick days. We're really excited that people next month are going to start to be able to take 3, but we feel it's not enough. 2 weeks ago, a server from Sherman Oaks called our office. She's recovering from surgery. She had some complications, so she asked for an extra day off. Her manager told her, if you can't find someone to cover you, then you're going to get written up, you're going to get a warning, and that's exactly what happened. She not only got a warning, but she also got cut 2 days for her next pay period. And so we really want to make sure that there's enough paid sick days and that also workers and employers understand how to take it and that workers are not retaliated against for taking their paid leave. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, that concludes public comment. Excuse me, sir, you're going to sit down. We're done with public comment. Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, what's before us?
Council
Please
has motions.
sit down, Mr. Herman. Mr. Clerk, what's before us?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Posted and referred.
The desk is clear.
Members, any announcements? Mr. Weezer.
Madam President, I just want to wish the community of El Sereno 100-year happy birthday message. The community of El Sereno was started as Blairstown 100 years ago, and it has been the home to a large Italian community at one time, a large German community at one time. It's primarily Latino now, but it is a very patriotic community. It has one of the largest 4th of July parades each 4th of July. And this year, we're going to go with a blast and have the largest fireworks show that El Sereno has ever seen to celebrate its 100-year anniversary. So happy birthday, El Sereno.
Thank you, Mr. Weezer. Mr. Fuentes.
Madam Chair, Mr. Cedillo asked that I announce that Housing Committee will begin at 1:30 p.m. today. 1:30 p.m. for Housing.
Thank you. Mr. O'Farrell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to announce that I'm partnering with the American Red Cross again for a blood drive. There's still a perpetual shortage, so we need donors. And it will go until 2:45 today in the 4th floor conference room, and it will be also tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 2:45. So if you can, please donate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell. Mr. Koretz, did you have an announcement? Mr. Price, did you have an announcement? Any adjournments, members? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.